At the beginning of the season, much like every other YouTuber, I put out a prediction video, except I'm right and I know what I'm talking about. Obviously, that's not true, as you're looking at said bracket that I released earlier in the season, at the beginning of the season. Yeah, you can see my predictions for what the playoffs were going to look like happened to be quite wrong on most accounts. But that, my friends, brings me to this video. You already know what it is by the title and by the thumbnail. It is time to make my predictions for what is going to happen in the 2018 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Now, obviously, I'm great at what I do when it comes to the prediction game. You've already seen that in this episode so far. But, you know, let's at least go in depth as to why I'm right and why every pick I make in this bracket is going to be absolutely correct, absolutely perfect. You'll be calling me Kurt Hennig by the end of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. It's going to be great. Now, I am going to start off, Western Conference, the number one matchup, the Nashville Predators and the Colorado Avalanche. Of course, you get the option to look at the key factors there, and obviously, the President's Trophy winning Preds have the edge in most aspects. You look at these two teams coming into the playoffs, though. Nashville on a bit of a slide, 5-4-1 record in their final 10 games of the regular season. The Avalanche with a 4-5-1 record. The Preds did win the season series 4-0. They won all 4 matchups. But I think the key thing for Colorado here, obviously so much of the pressure and basically their hope relies on whether or not Nathan MacKinnon can continue to do what he's done this season. Not to say guys like Landeskog and Rantanen are slouches. That's not to say that Ty Barry isn't going to have a major effect on defense, but once you look past the big names on this team, you have depth concerns when it comes to forward. You have depth concerns on defense. Perhaps the biggest factor in this series is that Erik Johnson is out for Colorado. That means someone like Mark Alt's going to get into the lineup, and of course, no disrespect to Mark Alt, he's not Erik Johnson. The Nashville Predators are relatively healthy, aside from missing Kalle Järnkrok, whereas Colorado is missing not only Erik Johnson, but also Semyon Varlamov, so their hopes rely on Jonathan Bernier. What is he going to be able to do in the postseason? He's had a really good season this year. Can he keep that up against the number one team in the NHL? I mean, I'm not exactly going out on a limb here. We're going with the Nashville Predators in the first round. I don't have to pick how many games. I'll give Colorado 1 game, maybe 2. I could really only see the series going 6 at the best for the Avs. If I had to place money on it, I'd say Nashville in 5. I respect what the Avs have done this season to make it there. They're not going to be able to get past Nashville unless Nathan MacKinnon just destroys worlds to make it happen. We move on to the next matchup, the Winnipeg Jets and the Minnesota Wild. Again, taking a look at how these teams have done leading into the postseason or heading into the postseason. Winnipeg, 9-1-0 in their last 10. Minnesota with a 4-2-4 record. The Jets took the season series 3 games out of 4. I give Minnesota a puncher's chance, but without Ryan Suter, Jared Spurgeon's banged up. He should be ready. If he's not ready for game 1, he'll be ready for game 2. Of course, they're also missing Luke Kunin this season. Winnipeg, for the most part, is healthy. Toby Enstrom and Trouba are both a little bit banged up. Kulikov's out, but for the most part, they are good to go. And for that reason, again, I have to go with Winnipeg. Same situation where I can see Minnesota getting a game or 2, but I just don't see how Winnipeg is going to fall short here. Way too much firepower. The defensive depth is there in case someone like Enstrom can't come back. Now, whether or not Joe Morrow and Tucker Poolman, Ben Sherratt are your idea of tremendous depth or not, well, that's debatable. But you look at the offensive firepower, Connor Hellebuck in goal. Unless he collapses, Winnipeg is moving on to the second round. Perhaps the most polarizing series in the first round. I mean, there's a lot of room for debate with a lot of these series as to what's going to happen, but the story of the year, the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the LA Kings. Now, Vegas, of course, heading into the postseason, a 5-3-2 record, so, they're not exactly killing it. LA, 6-2-2. The season series, each team took 2 games, so it's split down the middle there, but I think the difference is going to be the playoff experience of the LA Kings. But then again, I and many others have been doubting the Vegas Golden Knights all season. The playoffs are a different animal, though. And if you look at the LA Kings, Jake Muzzin, Alex Iafallo, they're banged up a little bit. They're still more than likely going to be without Derek Forbort for at least the first round. But then you look at Vegas without Lucas Spiza. I believe Jonathan Marchessault was a little bit banged up. I'm pretty sure he sat out at least one game, if not more, just to kind of heal up a little bit. David Perron, Riley Smith, they've been banged up a little bit too. So having some of their key players not be at 100% could be a factor. I'm not saying that Vegas doesn't have what it takes to make it out of the first round and to win this matchup against LA, but just the playoff experience of Jonathan Quick, Drew Doughty, Dustin Brown, Jeff Carter, Anze Kopitar, who is a potential Hart candidate, I can't help but doubt Vegas again. That's not to say that I'm rooting against them. I think it would be an incredible thing to see their story continue. Unfortunately, I think if I had to bet on it, and I kind of am with this bracket challenge, I'm going to go with the LA Kings and then moving on to the second round. The last first round matchup in the Western Conference, we have the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. Now, the Ducks, 8-1-1 in their last 10 in the regular season. San Jose stumbled a little bit, 5-4-1 in their last 10. The Sharks, though, won the season series. They took 3 out of 4, and the one that they lost was in overtime. So the Sharks did very well against Anaheim this season. Anaheim, a little bit banged up. Of course, Patrick Eaves has been out all year. Cam Fowler is out. Kevin Bieksa is out, and John Gibson was given a little bit of rest towards the end of the season. He, of course, though, is a Vezina candidate, and if he's on his game, San Jose is going to have a rough time. Evander Kane, a little bit banged up. He was given some rest. Joe Thornton, still projected to be out. He's at least not going to be ready for Game 1, if he's going to be ready at all. And, I mean, this is tough. I mean, anytime you want to try to predict the series between the California teams, it never goes well. Anaheim, though, on a roll, heading into the postseason. And, man, this might be the toughest one. This might be the toughest one. Again, Colorado, puncher's chance. Nashville's the obvious favorite. Same thing for Minnesota. With Vegas and LA, it really just depends on whether or not you think Vegas' success will be able to translate over to the playoffs. This series right here is so tough to predict. And you can't even really say, well, oh, Anaheim has the advantage. I mean, you can say Anaheim has the advantage in goaltending, but it's not like Martin Jones is a slouch. This really could go either way. And as much as I want to say it's going to be Anaheim, I mean, just because of their... I can't even say because of their postseason experience, but, being on the run that they have been on... they are one of 3 teams in the postseason to have won at least 8 out of their last 10 heading into the playoffs. Washington also went 8-2, and then, of course, Winnipeg, the hottest team heading into the postseason with a 9-1 record. There's just something about San Jose. And maybe it's that regular season record that has me caught up a little bit. Maybe it's the fact that Cam Fowler's out. But I think I have to go with the Sharks. I have to go with the Sharks in round 1. That series could go either way, though. No doubt about that. Moving over to the Eastern Conference for the first round matchups, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New Jersey Devils. Now, the Lightning are completely healthy right now. 5-4-1, though, in their last 10 games in the regular season. New Jersey still projected to be without Marcus Johansson, although they are on a 7-2-1 stretch heading into the playoffs, and they also swept the season series against Tampa, winning all 3 games. However, the playoffs are a different animal. And despite the fact that Tampa's looked a little bit tired, I feel like they're going to find that resurgence heading into the playoffs. And whether or not I feel like they have that depth. Obviously, the additions that they made at the deadline and trade with the Rangers. You look at someone like Anthony Cirelli stepping into the lineup and playing well as of late. It's the same thing, honestly, with Colorado, where with New Jersey, the goaltending, whether or not it's Keith Kincaid or if they give up, if he has a couple of rough games and they bring in Schneider, that's not too bad. But you look at the defensive matchups, it's in favor of Tampa, obviously. Offensively, it's in favor of Tampa. The experience is there. I'm not saying that a team that has a dominant Hart Trophy candidate in Taylor Hall, much like with Colorado, doesn't have that punching chance, but I got to go with the favorite. I don't think this is where we are going to see an upset. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning take care of New Jersey again. In how many games? Much like the Nashville-Colorado series, I give New Jersey 1 or 2 games. I could easily see that happening, but the Tampa Bay Lightning skill is going to win out. And that brings us to the series that I'm sure most of you want to hear my predictions on. Let's go with predictions. Predictions is a new word. The Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto on a 6-4-0 stretch heading into the postseason. The Bruins stumbled a bit, of course, 5-3-2 in their last 10. They lost their last game in the regular season to the Florida Panthers. Otherwise, we would have had Boston and New Jersey, Tampa and Toronto, in which case I would have, projected Boston over New Jersey as well, but that's all pointless at this point. Toronto's 100% healthy. The Bruins are quite banged up, with Riley Nash currently out, Rick Nash currently out, Anders Bjork is just gone, Brandon Carlo's done for the year, Sean Corrali is also a bit banged up, and Toronto took the season series 3-1. And you look at the season series last year too, Toronto dominated that. People want to bring up 2013 as if, Toronto's just going to collapse again in the postseason. I don't see that happening. I have faith in my team, but this isn't about whether or not I have faith in my team. This is about who I think is going to win this series. And just because of the injury, you have the injury concerns, you have the Bruins not being on the best stretch heading into the postseason. They've continued this trend of giving up the first goal. It's been in 7 or 8 games now that they've given up the first goal. It's been insane. They're on the decline at the worst time of year. Toronto is going to be so hungry, so determined to win this series, and that's why I was saying I desperately wanted Boston to win the division to avoid this matchup, because at the end of the day, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are the Bruins' kryptonite this year. Again, as much as it pains me, I would love to have this be the second round matchup. That's not the case. The Toronto Maple Leafs will be making it out of the first round this year, and they will play Tampa in round 2. We move on to the Metro. We have the Washington Capitals and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Washington, as I mentioned, on an 8-2 stretch in their last 10 games. Columbus, no slouches either, 6-2-2. The Washington Capitals did take the regular season series 3 out of 4 games. Washington, TJ Oshie and Jay Beagle a little bit banged up. Columbus only missing Lucas Sedlak. Here's the thing. Washington, despite winning the division title, are not in the same, or not seen in the same light as a Tampa or a Nashville. They're not, that pressure is off. People still expect Washington to be contenders. The question is, if they make it to round 2, do they have enough to make it beyond that second round finally? And people, obviously they've had to make changes to the roster. The expectations have lightened up a bit. For Columbus, started off the season very well, slipped, recovered, at least made it to a wild card spot in a very tough Metro division. In terms of competitive series, this is another one, much like Anaheim and San Jose, where there's a fair argument for either team. Squeaky chair, how you doing? There we go. Let's make your presence known. This is another series where if you were to tell me I think Columbus is going to win, I couldn't exactly disagree with you. Obviously, any team with Sergei Bobrovsky between the pipes is going to be favored. And with Washington, the question is, can Grubauer, if he's giving If he's given the starting role, can he get the job done? How long is that leash, if he is, before Braden Holtby comes back in? If I'm Washington, I still start Holtby. Playoffs are a different monster. He could easily recover despite having a down season this time out. Overall, though, when it comes to who is winning the matchup, again, I give Columbus as good of a chance as Washington. This is a 50-50 series to me, despite the fact that it's a 1 against a wild card. At the end of the day, because it is so close, I am going to give it to the Washington Capitals. Is it because I want to see Ovi succeed? Kind of. But also, you know, you talk about Washington not being able to get past the second round. Columbus, just now, for the first time, have made it to the playoffs 2 years in a row. This series might be a bigger toss-up than Anaheim and San Jose. I am going to go with the favorite. If you were to say, hey, Columbus is winning the series, I wouldn't call you a liar. I'll just say that. But for the sake of this, I am going to go with Washington. I think I have to. Although, trust me, it could go either way. It could go either way. And here's the issue. I didn't really think these out. I'm like, okay, let me take a look at these before the video starts, and I'll just decide on the fly. If you're looking at upset territory, technically LA would be an upset. Minnesota or Colorado winning their matchups would definitely be an upset. New Jersey would be an upset. Out of all the series that I've talked about, though, that I am... I don't know. We might come back to this. This might change, all right? Let's move on to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Pittsburgh, healthy. Philadelphia, healthy. So that is going to make for an interesting series. Both teams have won 6 out of their last 10 games. The Pens, though, swept the season series. The Flyers make it as the 3 seed behind Claude Giroux's amazing Hart caliber season. Whether or not he's in the final 3, whether or not he wins, who knows. But Claude Giroux, I'd say, rightfully should be in that top 3 for Hart contention. When it comes to this series, there's concern over Philadelphia's goaltending. That's not to say Matt Murray has been tremendous this season, but I have a bit more faith in him than in Philadelphia's goaltending. Defensively, I'd probably have to give the edge to Philly, and then if you look at the big guns on each team, I'd probably give it to Pittsburgh, but then you also have to factor in just how worn down is this Penguins team. Again, back-to-back Stanley Cups, they're in the playoffs yet again. How tired are they? How vulnerable are they? With Philly, much like with Columbus, there was some drastic inconsistency this season, losing 10 games, getting into the playoffs, looking like they were going to slide out of the playoffs, and then making it as the 3 seed in the division. It's another toss-up. There isn't one series here that I would consider a slam dunk this year. If you were to tell me that Colorado was going to upset Nashville, like Pekka Rinne just lost it and couldn't find his game and Colorado won, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, we gotta go with our gut on these matchups, right? And while I respect the run that the Flyers have gone on, and it's not going to be easy, I'm going to have to give it to Pittsburgh. And I'm sorry, Flyers fans, but hell, tell Brian Elliott, tell Mrazek, tell Neuwirth, whoever the hell gets between the pipes for them, make me a believer. If you get past Pittsburgh, if Pittsburgh's just too tired and Philly wants it more, hey, I'm not saying the Flyers can't win. I am going to have to give it to Pittsburgh, though. And I know that I have selected the majority of the favorites, and I'm sorry for that, but they are favorites for a reason. Actually, have I? Pick the favorite. Lower seed, favorite, lower seed, favorite, favorite. Yeah, okay, well, I guess the majority have been favorites. So looking back through, Nashville over Colorado. Tried to hold off on that, couldn't do it. I'm going to stay with Nashville. Winnipeg over Minnesota. I'm going to stay with Winnipeg. LA over Vegas. I'm going to stay with that. San Jose over Anaheim. God, that's tough. That is tough. Again, I do like the Ducks, but I've mentioned this before. Shout out to my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Powell, who said just go with your gut. And if you're wrong, well then, hey. That's paraphrasing. I'm going with my gut. I'm going to stick with San Jose. Over in the East, Tampa over New Jersey, Toronto over Boston, Washington over Columbus, and Pittsburgh over Philadelphia. So we move back over to the Western Conference. Nashville and Vegas. Holy shit. This series. My God. What a series. I would look forward to the... I think I'm looking forward to this series more than the thought of the Bruins playing Toronto. Like, just the thought of this series over the Boston-Toronto series, which is a guarantee to happen. I'm more excited for this because this would be an unbelievable slugfest. However, oh, God, who the hell do you go with? I mean, again, with Winnipeg, there's a little bit of concern over their injuries. With Nashville, there's concern that you had that long postseason run last year. You've been the number one team this year. Again, goaltending's been solid for both. Winnipeg has the better offense. Power play and penalty kills are both relatively even enough. How do you decide this series? You want to talk about another toss-up? Holy hell. Holy hell. We might, we're going to have to come back to that. We have LA and San Jose. Talk about the late playoff runs that the Sharks have made in the past. You look at what the Kings have done this season, battling back to make the playoffs. I just don't know. I just don't know. How do you pick any of these? This is just the final 8. How do you pick any of these? God damn. Again, I was having a hard enough time just, confirming that I want to go with Nashville over Colorado, which is the easiest pick that you could probably have this postseason. Unbelievable. And here's the thing. It's not like... it's like, yeah, if Minnesota were to upset Winnipeg, sure, that's pretty easy. But that's not exactly the case right now. I got to go with my gut here. I have to go with my gut here. I'm going with Winnipeg over Nashville. And in the Pacific Division matchup, I'm going with the LA Kings over the San Jose Sharks. Am I confident in that? I'm asking myself more than anything. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So let's just move on. I'm going to go with Tampa over Toronto. Sorry, Leafs fans. Is this the year? Is this the year? Ovi, you made a fool out of me last year, buddy. You and the entire team. Is this the year? I'm gonna say no. I just can't do it. There's just a kryptonite there. Same thing as this series right here. There's the kryptonite there. And looking at this series, do I feel right about this being the Stanley Cup final? Again, Nashville over Colorado. I'm good with that. Although, again, I admit Colorado, you never know. Winnipeg over Minnesota? Yes. LA over Vegas? Yes, I agree with that. Anaheim over San Jose. Here's the thing. If Anaheim wins, I think Anaheim gets past LA. I just don't know about Anaheim getting past San Jose. But I do like the Kings over the Sharks in that particular matchup. And then Winnipeg over LA. I don't mind it. And we have Tampa over New Jersey, Toronto over Boston, which pains me. It pains me deeply. Here's the thing. I don't know if I can pick the Bruins over Tampa. I would love to see that series. Yeah, I mentioned that when the Bruins and Lightning played about 2 weeks ago, before the matchup back, the rematch in Tampa where Tampa smoked them 4-0, that a Bruins-Lightning series would be incredible. But again, with the Bruins, I think it's the injuries and Toronto's voodoo right now. Even though, yeah, history in 2013 for Toronto, that was an entirely different team. Austin Matthews wasn't there, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Frederik Andersen, Morgan Riley has only improved. I think, like, for example, over here, if you were to get these two teams, I still don't know if anyone makes it past Tampa, The one thing for me is Washington against Tampa, but I just don't think I can pick Washington over Pittsburgh, no matter how tired that Pittsburgh team is, but I can pick Tampa over Pittsburgh. Winnipeg and Tampa in the Stanley Cup Final. What a series that would be. The question is, Winnipeg has to go through Minnesota, Nashville, and LA, where Tampa would have to go through New Jersey, Toronto, and Pittsburgh. Who would be more worn down? They were my pick at the start of the year, and I'm sticking with them now. Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to win the Stanley Cup. It's rough. How confident? I think you can tell how unsure I am of all of these picks, but I will say that is what's going to make this postseason incredible, because I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. Again, you could tell me that San Jose or the LA Kings are going to win the Stanley Cup. The only team where I mean, again, like Colorado and Minnesota, if you were to tell me they were going to win the Stanley Cup, I'd be like, okay. Same thing with New Jersey. Everybody else, I'd believe you. That's what's insane about it. I would absolutely believe you. So in terms of the tiebreaker, let's say, I don't know. Let's say we have a 3-goal game, a 2-goal game, a 4-goal game. I'm going to go with 19. Lucky number 19. Oh, shit, you do get the pick. All right. Well, there we go. I didn't know that's what the bonus round was. Nashville over Colorado. I'm going to give I'm going to give Colorado 1 game. Winnipeg over Minnesota. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see the sweep. I know Devin Dubnyk's, kind of catching fire lately. I'll give Minnesota 2 games. Vegas and LA. I'll give LA 2 games, or Vegas 2 games. LA in 6. San Jose and Anaheim goes 7. Tampa in 5. Toronto over Boston in 6. Washington over Columbus in 6. Pitt and Philly's going 7, because of course it is. There we go. I will absolutely submit my bracket. There you have it. The Tampa Bay Lightning will be winning the Stanley Cup. Let's look at my submitted bracket one more time. There it is. As the title says, Tougie 24's bracket. That is definitely correct, no matter how unsure of myself that I sounded. Guys, let me know what you think is going to happen. If you have a bracket in the bracket challenge, link it down below if you can, if YouTube doesn't catch it. If not, send it to me on Twitter. I want to see what your picks were. And if anything, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's have let's have a league. Let's do this live right now. Was I planning on this? Absolutely not. We'll go with that, a little league image. It will be a public league. As far as creating anything, we don't need to. Allow me to use my existing bracket. And there you go. There you go. If you want to join this league, feel free to do so. Tougie's definitely going to win is the league name. Join up. We'll see who wins. And maybe there'll be a prize for someone at the end of this. Again, can you tell that all of this was very spur of the moment? I hope you could. And the fact that it's 12:30 in the morning might be a good indication of that. So there you go. My bracket, my league, my brand, everything. Guys, thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the league, with the playoffs. Go Bruins, obviously, although I'm not feeling too great about that, clearly. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, Twitter, Twitch, notification bell, YouTube stuff. Goodbye.